welcome. This is the first time I've ever done this, and it's quite awkward and scary and all those sorts of things. This is a knitting podcast, and thank you for coming and to watch. I've wanted to do this for a while, and I know many people say that, but I mean for a while, since the first time I ever watched Fiber Tales, which I think was when she was taking a break. She just had her boy. So it was a while ago, and I thought, wow, I want to do that. That's cool. But I wasn't too much into knitting at the time. I sort of it grew, and then it went at some point. I don't even know when, but it did. And I thought, that's all I want to talk about, because there's just so much to it, and it's so fun, and it's cool. But unfortunately for me, I'm the only person in my family who knits. Nobody else does. I'm self-taught. I taught myself, I don't know how many years ago now. It's been a while. Early 20s, I'd say. Around 20-ish. Now I'm in my late 20s. So it's been a while now. And I tend to get really obsessed with stuff when I get into it. And when I got into knitting, the more I learned, the more I wanted to do with it. And everyone around me didn't know anything. And a lot of them just didn't care. And so when you're talking on and on and on to them about this thing you're really into and it's really cool and you think it's amazing, they're just like, okay. And you could just see the ears bleed because they just are talking on. So eventually I was like, okay, well, I need to find something, because, yeah. And so I was learning about podcasts, and I was watching some here and there. I don't actually watch a whole lot. I should, but I don't. And I really enjoy them. I think they're cool. They're calming. I love putting them on in the background, and my young son loves them. He calls them Mummy's knitting shows, and it's so funny. So I'm gonna do it. So here it is. It is mostly about knitting. There is some crochet, because I do crochet, but I mostly crochet blankets, and they're mostly just big granny square. Except for what I have for you, which is more or less the same thing, just not the same thing. But there's also, I do have this book of crochet sweaters I want to touch on eventually, which they're really cool. I do sew. I do sew garments, kind of. I do, but I don't. And I play at quilting. I like to quilt, and I have this big queen size quilt that I've been working on for, well, a while. I stopped working on it for a while because life happens, and it was the furthest thing away, and to have to sit down and put on the sewing machine it's more of a hassle than to sit and just knit. So I mostly knit. I do some crochet. I do sometimes sew. I do cross stitching. I really enjoy cross stitching. I've been doing that for years. So maybe you'll see the other things sometimes, but mostly knitting because it's what I'm most obsessed with. You see. I was a bit stumped about this because I had no idea what to talk about. Most podcasters have a few episodes. So this is the things I've finished, and now this is what I'm going to start working on, and these are my whips, and whatever. You sort of see them progress, and I don't have any progress. So I looked at what I had, and I picked out 3 finished objects that I've finished, and then I picked 3 things that I'm working on now. I am the kind of knitter, though, who has lots of whips, because I like to work on lots of things, so I have actually more than what you're going to see, but I figured I'll do these and then maybe do more. Yeah, so I guess I'll get right into it. Oh, right. My name is Shannon, and I come from Alberta, Canada. and right, got that bit. Okay, so I guess for finished objects, I have this to start off with, which is hat, because I like hats. It's got, see if you can see it. It's really pretty, and it's mohair and superwash held together, superwash yarn held together, and they're indie dyed, and they're both from, what are they called? The Woolly Cabin, I think? Anything I say, I'll like put somewhere, like everybody else. I'll put it somewhere, and I'll always put things in the thingy down below. But yeah, so this is awesome hat. It's a slouchy hat, and I'll show you. It's massive even on me. So it's huge, and I love that it's huge because I have this issue with my ears where even in the summer, if I get wind in my ears, I get bad earaches, but it's really bad if it's a cold wind in the spring, fall, and especially in the winter, and the like curvy bit of my ear really hurts, even if it's just one of the warmer seasons. And I do have hats. I knitted a hat called the Babble hat, which I guess I'll link that below. I don't have any pictures of it, and the one I have now is really ratty because I never did block it, so it never grew, but it ended up becoming my son's hat because he liked it, and it fit his head perfectly, even though it was an adult size. It was like the perfect cushion room, and because it had air inside, it wasn't like skin tight to his head, it kept him really warm, so he had it. It's his hat now, even though it's pink and yellow and sparkly, because I like sparkles and stuff, but he loves it. In the future you might see that pattern again, because I was looking at it, and I'd like to knit another one for my son, but he's really into cars, so I actually took this sheet colorwork patterns and I redid them in the shape of cars in a book, so that I can knit the hat again, but instead of sheep it'd be cars all the way around, because I have some yarn in here, in here, that I'd like to use for his hat, and I'm wanting to make that one bigger so that I can put fleece on the inside for him too. Nice. So back to this hat. This hat fits me perfectly. I don't actually really have any other hats, which is why I'm like, I need a hat. And it's nice and big. I can turn up the ribbing if I want, and I really like it. The yarn is kind of special because the main colorway, the big one, is called In the Big Woods, and it's themed after I forget what it's called. I think it's just called In the Big Woods. Little House in the Big Woods, that's it. It's a Laura Ingalls book, and when I was a kid, it was my favorite book. I didn't read a lot when I was a kid, and it was one of the few books I would read front to back, and I still have my original copy, even though it's in horrible shape. I still have it, and so that's what the main colorway when this was called. And the mohair, sorry, I have a hamster. You can't see it, but I have a hamster cage there, and he's chewing things. And the mohair, silk mohair, is called Evergreen. And it was really sweet because the dyer's name is Dawn, and she had given me a little pine cone place marker, I think there. It's the one where it's just a ring and you put it on the needle, so if you're knitting in the round, it keeps your place where the beginning and the end is. One of those. It was a little pine cone. And it was special at the time because my little guy was really obsessed with pine cones. So he was always picking pine cones everywhere. Every time we go outside, he'd fill his pockets full of them. So it was just all around, it was a really special thing. So that's my hat, my little evergreen hat. Next up is a cardigan. And this cardigan has seen a lot of wear already. And it is pilling. I didn't think it would pill because it's a very rustic yarn. And this is it. Let's, sorry about that. My little guy just came in and I had to help him. And I don't want him in this, so I cut it out. But I was talking about this, and this is, it's one of my favorite cardigans. I love the design so much. It's got these beautiful mock cables, and it's got this lace panel and a whole bunch of moss stitch, which I love moss stitch. I don't know why, but I just love it. I have another cardigan that I'm working on that the whole thing is moss stitch with some lace work at the top and then a little bit at the bottom. The pattern is by a Dutch designer, and the yarn is also by a Dutch designer, because this is Fiber Tales yarn. It's her Gotland yarn, and it's from the batch from February 2020, and that's when I ordered this. It was just as COVID was breaking out, and I managed to get it just in time. I was super excited because when I first discovered that she even did yarn was when I first discovered her, and I immediately wanted to buy some because I had seen the different things she had knitted with her yarn, and I was just getting into actual wool, and I was really excited about this, and I was like, I want to try that. That looks like wonderful yarn. But she didn't have any at the time, and she wasn't going to have any for a while, but when she was coming out with some, I was hyped up about it. I was super excited. So that's what this is. And I must say, it is rustic. She's not wrong about that. It's very rustic. It is scratchy when you first put it on. But I wouldn't necessarily rule out wearing it skin to skin. Maybe for some people, no, but I wear this skin to skin. Like, I would wear this with this t-shirt, only it's really hot and I don't want to overheat. But I actually have skin issues. I have eczema that I get from, it varies depending, but it can be extreme on my hands, and I sometimes get it in here and just on my arms in general. This does not irritate it, and once your body kind of adjusts to it, once you put it on and it's like a bit scratchy at first, and then you wear it for a few minutes and the scratchy goes away, and it's just nice. And I find with sweaters like this, because when I was in school, I was always wearing hoodies or just a sweater, and I was either freezing, so then you put your hoodie on and then you're way too hot. But with things like this, when I'm wearing it, as long as it's not really hot outside, I'm perfectly fine in this. I never get too hot. I want to say a couple things with this about the pattern. I love the pattern. I would just say, if you are to knit this, be careful at the neck, because I don't know what I did. I really don't. It was a complete mystery. I thought I did everything right, but I was going for the large size. I ended up with a size in between large and extra large, because you do increases, like it's kind of like a U shape, and you do certain increases to make the shape for the neck, and then you go down, and I guess I made one increase round too many, and so I ended up with more stitches, which in the long run I prefer, because the sleeves are a little bit bigger, the body's a little bit bigger, I do prefer it over just having an extra large, because extra large would have been too big. So it worked out perfect, and I think the large would have ended up being too small, because I don't like things that are tight on me. Really don't. And this isn't. It's nice and loose. I would wear it right now, but it's at least, it's in the high 20s at least, and in my house it gets really hot, especially upstairs, which is where we are. But I love it. It's wonderful. I have no complaints. I love her yarn. It's wonderful. And I actually, later, because after I'm done talking about my finished objects and then my whips, I haven't bought any yarn recently, but I have actually bought yarn from Fiber Tales the last time she just did a shop update, kind of. And that's this lovely stuff here. And I have a cool project that I want to share with you guys that I'm looking forward to really getting underway. But this is really, I love it. I don't know how to say it. It's a great, her yarn is wonderful, the pattern is wonderful. I would suggest both. My last finished object I will share with you is a biggie, and it is it's the first sweater I actually finished for myself. I've done other sweaters and smaller sweaters, but this is the first adult size thing I made for myself. And is it ever big? It's huge. It's so big, and it's so warm, and it's soft, and it actually does have a mild wrinkle factor, but it's not that bad. And it totally reminds me of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, only because I was watching those when I was knitting this, mostly on the sleeves, because this is one of those projects that it took me months to do. But it's got like, sleeves are deliberately meant to be long. You're supposed to fold them up, but here it is. It's really big. And this lovely lady, I love just to cuddle it. I mostly wear this as an outer garment because it's so big and it's so warm. I could just easily wear like a fall jacket underneath and have this over top, and I can go out in minus 20 odds and I'm fine. It's really nice. It is knit flat until you get to this bit, and then you join. If you can see, it's like you do a special kind of crossy join thing, and then you join it, and then it's just straight in the round. It's really simple pattern, and it's, I don't know if I said, but it is a Pickles pattern, and this is one of the 2 patterns that actually inspired me to start knitting in the first place. So it's special in that sense. The yarn became special. I think I ended up buying all of the yarn in this colorway, because this is the kind of yarn where there wasn't a dye lot. It was just shearings from the same animals, and they're all put together, and that's that. So that was, what was this? It is called the Mellow sweater, and unlike a lot of Pickles designs, you cannot buy this as a kit. This yarn is yarn from a lovely lady in Sweden called Anita, and she has a shop on Etsy called Anita Yarns. Maybe it's just Anita Yarn. Link it. I love her yarn. She's got wonderful yarn. She may have a bit of this left in the blue, but it will not be a sweater's quantity if she has any left. The yarn is 80% Angora rabbit and 20% lamb's wool. And this coloring was called her beige. And what's a little bit special about this sweater is, you see that stripe? That was not meant to be there. It was an accident. In one of the cakes of yarn when I was just knitting, there was I guess it was a break, and the two colorways, the stripe and the main color, the colorways are so similar that unless you have them in direct sunlight, you can't really tell them apart. So they must have tied the wrong yarn onto the end and then made up the rest of the amount that they needed, but it was the wrong color. And so when I was knitting, luckily I picked the other end. Like, luckily the way it worked out is that it was the end. It ended up being at the end of my bowl instead of the beginning, because then it made this stripe. And I thought, at first I was heartbroken, but then I loved it. I really loved it, because it was just, it made it special. I mean, nobody else who's knitted this sweater has a stripe in it, and I like things that are different, and I love this. It's special. It has a lot of memories too. I don't know about any of you, but when I knit things, I sometimes knit them with meaning either behind the pattern or behind the yarn, and or just while I'm knitting it, certain things go on around me that once it's finished, it makes it special. And this is one of those pieces I have. There's also another one. There's a sweater I made my son. And I remember knitting on it and knitting on it. It took me about 3 weeks to do, and I was amazed because I've knitted like a 5-year-old size sweater in 3 weeks. To me, that's a short amount of time. And I was so excited for him to wear it, and all the time I was making it, he seemed to really like it. And then it's finally done, and I put it on him, and he has an absolute fit. Doesn't want it. He started wearing it after, but he just did not want anything to do with it at the beginning, and it was funny. So I can explain it as. So this is one of those as well. And I can guarantee you will see a lot of things to do with Pickles. Oh, and in case you're wondering, Pickles is a Norwegian yarn producer and pattern designer. They have their own patterns that they make using their own yarn, and you can either just buy the pattern, or you can buy the pattern with the yarn as a kit, and then the pattern's free and you buy the kit, and they ship worldwide. And I'll link them down too. I love them. If it was not for them, I would not be knitting. Seriously, they used to have their patterns where half the sizes you had to pay for and half the sizes were free, and that is what got me into knitting. I wanted to knit one of their patterns so badly that I bought yarn and knitting needles, which was the wrong yarn and wrong needles. But with that, I learned to knit, and so I credit everything to them. And plus, I just love their yarn. I have a lot of it. Like, gosh, you can't see. Maybe I'll move most of this here that's sitting on this table is all Pickles yarn, and you can't see it, but there's a shelf above this one, and it's all Pickles yarn. And I have other Pickles yarn. I've got a bookcase over there, and the bottom shelf is nothing but yarn, and a bunch of that's Pickles yarn. So you'll be hearing a lot, seeing and hearing a lot of them. So we're done with finished objects. Now it's time to mention whips, which I'm excited about. I love whips. Whips are fun. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you could tell, my tea is hot, and every time I drink it, my glasses fog up. Just like the thing where you forget you're wearing glasses and you open the oven door and then fog. Same thing. This tea, I forgot to mention that this tea is just a plain black tea with milk and sugar, and the brand is Yorkshire. It's my favorite brand of tea in Canada, because in like supermarkets or grocery stores, what you can normally find would be Tetley. Sorry, I got hairs in my mouth from my yarn. It's Tetley, or what's the other one that does really good Earl Grey? I forget what they're called, but all the big name ones. And they do good black teas, and they do good English breakfasts and all that, but I like just a good black, a good British tea, I guess would be a good way of putting it. My husband is from Britain, and so much of my life is from Britain, and I love British tea, and Yorkshire tea is straight up British tea. I have to go to the international foods section in my supermarket to buy it, but I think it's better than Tetley in my opinion. It's way better than Tetley. And so that's what this says. You can get, it might be more, but at least here you can get two different ones. You can get one that's got a big red thing in the front, which is the regular, and then one where it's got gold. It literally says gold underneath. And they're both really good. I love them both. I would highly recommend them. It's a good, smooth, strong tea without being sickening and without making you have to wait ages for it to be strong. I like my tea. I will admit though, there are better teas out there. I do not know of them. So if you know of them and you'd like to suggest them, you could totally do that. I love buying tea. It's one of those things that gets me giggly inside. Tea, books and yarn and stationery. Those things makes me get all giggly. But anyways, let's talk about my whips. I have 3. Let's do this one first. So I have this. This is a rainbow cardigan. This is one of the front sides. It's rainbow speckled yarn. There you go. It's a good representation. This is a superwash yarn, and it is, I don't know, I like it. It's got a lot of neon-y colors, but it's rainbow speckles. And I love rainbow, and I love pink, and I love rainbow, and this is both. I have the back piece here, which is knitting the large, so it's a nice big sweater. It'll be even bigger once it's blocked. It's quite nice. Rainbow speckles. This yarn I got off Etsy from a seller. I cannot remember her name. I believe she's in Quebec, Canada though. It might be somebody else. But this, I will link her below. She does really great yarn, and even if she doesn't have what you want, still ask her, because I was looking last summer, I think it was. I was looking for rainbow speckled yarn because I wanted to knit that that shawl by Fiber Tales, where it's all garter stitch, and then it's got the cable, and then it's got like the loopty bit on the cable, and then it's got the bulbs. I forget what she called that. I don't remember the name. I'll link it. I did end up knitting that, but with a different rainbow yarn, because this was the original one I was looking at that I liked, but I messaged the woman and she didn't have any. So I just moved on. But she got back to me months later and asked me if I was still interested. And I was going to say no, but then I thought, but it's rainbow speckled yarn with pink. So I bought it with the intention of using it for a different Fiber Tales one. The one where she's got that, it's a sweater, and it's got, what is it called? Herringbone. The herringbone stitch right across the front. And I bought enough to do that, but when I tried it with this yarn, it didn't look good. I had to use 12mm needles just to meet gauge with the, to meet gauge. And then when I did it, it was too thin. It was way too thin. And even I washed my swatch and I blocked it, and the yarn did puff up a bit, but it was still way too thin. So I'm like, well, I can't use it for this. So I put it away in my stash and then decided to do this. This cardigan is a free pattern. Oh, I forgot to mention, with that hat, it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'll link that. It's a free slouchy hat pattern. What was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. So, yeah, so this pattern this is a free pattern. It's a very simple V-neck cardigan. Like, I'll show you. This is, what is this? This is the left side. So it's like Very, very simple, basic V-neck sweater. The pattern is free on your inspirations. That's where you can find it. There is also a round neck version of the cardigan available, and you get it. You can get child size, adult size. They actually have lots of patterns for free on there, and the instructions are super clear. I would recommend it. It's a really basic pattern, and I realize I think I have enough yarn to finish it. I think actually I don't know. I've been kind of like playing yarn chicken a little bit, because in my mind I'm watching how much I'm using and I know how much I have. I've been playing it a little bit because I'm not sure I have enough yardage to do the size I'm doing, but I might have to make alterations to the button band. Might be what I have to do, because I think in the pattern what they do is they knit something long, like, or quite wide in stockinette, and then just knit that really long and then fold it over. That's what it looks like. I haven't actually read that far. I hope that's not the case, because I don't think I have enough yarn to do that. But what I want to do, what I'm planning on doing, is just picking up stitches and then just knitting 2x2 rib all the way around and do some buttonholes. That's probably the basicest basic that I'm going to do, and I'm pretty sure I have enough yarn for that. So that's this. I love it. It's one of those ones where it's total mindless knit, and I love that about this, because sometimes you just need a mindless knit. So that's this. It's my first whip. And yeah. My second whip is this, and it's quite big. I'll do this a bit so it doesn't fall down. And you can't quite tell totally what it is because it's on needles that are way too short for it, but it's a Batwing Sweater. And let me see if I can show you. This yarn is by Briggs & Little, which they have a spinning mill in, I think it's New Brunswick, Canada. I got this yarn on my birthday last year when I went to this yarn shop that I don't have access to, but family members of mine wanted to take me, and they have access to this place. So I went and I bought all of this. You can't really tell with the lighting, but this is, it's like a lilac-y kind of purple, and it's a heathered color, and it's got all kinds of, it's got pink in it, and purples in it, and blues in it, and white, and it's really, really pretty. It's almost, it's not tweedy, but it has like that, you know, the color effect you get with tweed almost has that. It's really pretty. I think this colorway was called Fog. I think. It's a really nice purple. And then this is in navy blue. And I bought all of this, which was, I can't remember how many bowls it was. I can't. But there was only one of this blue. And I thought, I'm going to make myself a color rig sweater. And the idea was that the dark blue would be really stark against this, and it would look really pretty. I did not have enough yarn for that though. When I got home, I realized I didn't have enough. So I started searching and searching and searching and searching for the right pattern, because I wanted a sweater, and I did find the sweater for it. Lovely sweater pattern. And the pattern is, you cannot get it online, unfortunately. It is from this. This is a old, I think it's at least from the 1980s. It is a patterns pamphlet. It's got many different patterns in it, but it's Australian. It's from Australia. And I will show you guys. This is the finished object. The only thing is, it's not gonna be as It's not going to quite look like that. It's going to be a bit more bulky and more of a wintry sweater than a casual one like that. Because not only is the yarn the wrong weight, actually it's mostly because the yarn's the wrong weight, but it's also that the yarn's a different type of yarn. This is meant to be alpaca, and this is 100% wool. So it's not the same thing at all, and I actually am improvising a little bit because for the sleeve part that I'm on, because this is the sleeve, I keep thinking, because you see each kind of squares that you make, like lacy square things, I'm supposed to do 5 of these for the sleeve. Not only do I don't think I have enough yarn to do that, I'm also thinking that's supposed to be my sleeve, and then you pick up stitches along the edge and you do the ribbing. But even if you did ribbing that was really tight, it's still going to be really wide for a cuff. So instead of doing 5, I'm doing 3, and I'm on my 3rd. And then you start decreasing, and then I'll cast off. This is the back piece. So it's got like the tight ribbing at the bottom, and then this really pretty, it looks really fan shaped. It's really kind of cool. The nice thing about this sweater is it's knit in 2 pieces, back and a front, and that's it. And I'm looking forward to just doing that perfect mattress stitch. It's so satisfying, and I cannot wait to do that. And look at this. I also know that this is going to grow quite a bit because I swatched it. Not only does it fluff up a lot, it's not going to be as holey. You can't quite tell. Maybe you can, but it's kind of, yeah, it'll, all those gaps between the stitches will fill in. So it'll be a lot warmer and chunkier, so it'll be more of a wintry thing, which will be great, finishing it in time for fall and all that to come, because then I can just wear it as an outer garment outside, walking around, walking my dog and whatever. So that is finished object whip number 2. Now the 3rd one is kind of special, I guess. My little guy starts preschool in September, and even though it's preschool, he's still registered, and it's still like it's school, but just for little guys. And when we were out doing all the getting the things he needed, I could not help, even though this is acrylic yarn, I could not help but buy some acrylic yarn. Now, he picked these, this yarn, and I am making him, I'm crocheting him a granny square blanket in honor of going to school. And that's my next whip. Each square is different because there's 3 balls of yarn, and each one, like, they're variegated and they're color changing, so every time I do a square, I start and end at a different place. So every single one is totally different, and I can't wait to put them all together and sew them, and it's just, and make a border, because I do have acrylic yarn. I do prefer rustic yarns, but I will use superwash and I will use acrylic. I feel like every yarn has its purpose. And when you have kids, and when you have little kids who make messes, it's like mess just comes from them. They don't even need anything to make a mess, and they make everything dirty. For me, I need to be able to wash things, and things like this, I want to be able to chuck in the washing machine with all the other blankets and stuff and wash the same without having to worry about it shrinking or getting wrecked. So I like this one. It's just like, it's fire. And then, oh, I haven't got it here. See, I think a couple of the squares he's playing with right now. There is one where it's all green and it's like a forest. It's really cool. And then you have, I mean, this was a different ball of yarn, but this one's like water. I don't know, they're cool. I really like this one. It's like neon rainbow bits and black, but every time I start, the colors are in different places and the black's in different places, and it's a cool thing. I can't wait, and I can't wait to show you guys the finished blanket. I hope I finish it in time, so well, I will. I want it to be done before September. There's one of those things where if I need to sit and watch him, or my dog right now she's a puppy, and she has been quite picky about, she will not go potty unless she's taken for like a half-hour walk every single time. And she's just about 8 months old. And it's not bad, but a couple weeks ago we had a really bad heat wave and nobody could leave the house. And so I would like her to get more in the habit of going in the backyard, and so what I've been doing is I've been going out there with her and just sitting in the backyard until she potties when she has to go. And so I'll take this and just do one of these. They're really quick. And then I have another square for his blanket. So those are fun. But the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was my yarn fibery tails thing that I want to be doing soon. And like I've told you, I am the kind of knitter who has whips sort of everywhere. So I might, yeah. So like I've told you, I bought some of Fiber Tales' latest yarn, and by the way, I love this yarn. Like, this is the darker of the two. I think she called it charcoal. So. But, and I bought only one of these, and I bought, yeah, and I bought 7 of these. So I want to make a sweater. A little tag. You guys can maybe read it. Oh, it's a bit, there we go. But yeah, it's because I had a sweater in mind that I've been wanting to do for a while. Out of my collection, I have lots of printed off patterns and magazines and pamphlets. And I'm going to try and show you. I want to knit, it's too exposed. I want to knit that. But with her yarn. Now, this will be the main color. This will be the main color work. But in the pattern, which is hard to see in the picture, there is also a third color. Now, I have this from my other Fiber Tales pattern, like sweater that I did with her yarn. And even though this is not 100% the same stuff, it's still the same yarn. And so I have perfect, absolutely perfect the color work things. Oh, I was so excited. And when I saw the color work, when I saw it, I thought this is perfect for the sweater I want to do. And I have wound these up. The other two, one of each. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I bought 2 of these because I have a ball there. So I have done a bit of a swatch. I haven't finished it because I want to do 2 repeats of the lace and gable pattern. But this is it. It's got the lace in the middle, and then it has cables on either side. Now, the way it worked out so good because I did cast it on the amount to check gauge because you have to do it over the pattern. But I always do garters on either side for swatching. And it just so happened that it worked out perfectly so that the cables were evenly on each side of my garter. It looks like a pretty swatch. So I cannot wait to start knitting this up and then get to the color work, because with the sweater you start with the color work first. So I get to get right into the color work. And even if even if this little ball is not enough, which I think it should be, but even if it's not, this skein right here is another whole skein. So I do have enough of this. And I should have enough of the regular yarn to actually knit it up. Yeah, I do think that is everything for this first one. I have no idea how long it is. I hope it's not too long. I've had to stop it a few times. If you've watched this far, I am so grateful. I really am, and I'm really, really sorry if you can hear background noise. Today I'm the only one looking after my son, and he's 3.5, and I'm trying to get him to play in his own room quietly while I did this, but I've had to keep stopping and attending to him, and there have been times where he's been kind of loud. I'm hoping that my phone didn't pick it up. Hopefully it didn't, because it can be annoying in the background. But if you watched all the way through it, and if it is in the background, thank you for being patient. I've actually recorded this once before and was trying to figure out how to edit and ended up deleting it. So I had to do it again. And the last time I did it, I didn't have to worry about him in the background. So thank you, and thank you so much for watching this. I really enjoy knitting, and I really enjoy talking about it, even though I get really nervous about doing stuff like this. It feels a bit weird, but lots of people do it, so I guess it's not that weird. But I would totally do this again, and I would totally do it like soon. Maybe I'll do another one for next week, because I'm not the fastest knitter, but I can really talk on about knitting for ages. So again, thank you so much, and I hope all of you guys have a wonderful day, weekend, night, morning, whatever it is. I hope you guys have a good spectrum of existence. And I hope to see you soon. I didn't want to say see you soon because I won't actually see you, but thank you, and bye-bye.